You wander through Hobbiton as though it were your own memory, tracing the edges of familiar round doors, the neatly stacked wood piles, and the garden fences wrapped in morning mist. You notice the way sunlight falls on Bag End, spilling through the circular windows, and for a moment, you feel the simplicity of comfort in your bones. Frodo appears on the path, barefoot, brushing a stray leaf from his shoulder, and you sense something unspoken in his eyes, a yearning for adventure, a twinge of curiosity that pulls him toward places he doesn't yet understand. You feel it too, as if the land itself is quietly urging you to leave the safety of these soft green hills. There's a subtle magic in the ordinary, Sam's humming as he tends to the garden, the way Rosie's hair catches the morning light, the gentle clinking of dishes in the distant kitchens. You still wonder if it's the love of home or the comfort of routine that anchors you, because even as the horizon whispers of distant mountains and darker forests, there's a longing to stay here beneath the blue sky that seems endless. A letter arrives unexpectedly, worn and curled at the edges, its inked words promising a journey that cannot be ignored. You hold it close, imagining the thrill of stepping beyond the familiar hedgerows, of walking paths where stories are not yet written. There is a quiet companionship in your imagination, Frodo at your side, sharing unspoken glances over breakfast, or leaning against garden fences in the quiet of dusk. You sense that the smallest gestures, handing over a warm loaf, sharing a laugh at an old song, carry a weight far heavier than any sword. Packing your simple belongings, you pause to take in the scent of the earth, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the distant laughter of children running along winding paths. You wonder if you'll ever return with the same lightness in your chest, or if stepping onto the road will forever change the rhythm of your days. Every goodbye, even temporary, carries a subtle ache, a reminder of love and home intertwined. The morning fades slowly as your first steps carry you past familiar fences, into the quiet stretch of countryside that leads toward the wider world. Each bird call seems more pointed, each breeze more urgent, as if the Shire itself breathes a soft warning. Cherish these moments, for they will become memories. And yet, beneath that warning, there is excitement too. A hum of potential and the quiet thrill of friendship that waits just beyond the horizon. You meet the first companions on the road, Merry and Pippin, with their bright laughter and curious eyes. They have a way of noticing small things, how a puddle catches sunlight, how a fox pauses mid-step. That makes you slow down, observe, and appreciate. You feel the ease of camaraderie, the way laughter can chase away shadows, even when the journey ahead hints at challenges you cannot yet name. You still wonder if it is love for your friends, or the simple joy of shared adventure that makes your chest swell with warmth in these early hours. As night settles in, you find a quiet spot beneath a large oak. Stars peek through the leaves, and the gentle hum of the Shire below drifts upward like a lullaby. You trace the constellations with your eyes, imagining stories written in their light. You breathe deeply, carrying with you both the peace of home and the subtle thrill of the unknown. Even as you close your eyes, there is a sense that every step forward will be both frightening and beautiful, that the ordinary world holds secrets you are only beginning to glimpse. And just before sleep claims you, you feel a whisper of adventure curling around your mind, promising that tomorrow the road will begin in earnest. The morning greets you with mist curling over hills that stretch farther than you remember, and you feel a light thrill as you step beyond the borders of the Shire. The air tastes different here, cooler, crisper, tinged with the scent of pine and damp earth, and every sound is sharper, every shadow slightly deeper. You walk beside Frodo, who carries a quiet resolve that both comforts and unsettles you. There is a subtle intimacy in these steps, the way your shoulders occasionally brush as you navigate narrow paths, or the brief glance you share when a bird takes flight. You still wonder if it is fear or trust that makes your heart beat a little faster in these moments. Soon, Merry and Pippin join you, their laughter filling the gaps between the soft crunch of leaves underfoot. You notice how Merry's eyes sparkle when he spots something small and beautiful, like a patch of wildflowers or a glinting beetle on a leaf. Pippin hums a tune as he walks, and you feel that hum settle into your chest, a gentle counterpoint to the unease of venturing further from home. You find yourself responding to their lightheartedness, allowing the tension at the edges of your nerves to soften just enough that the world feels expansive, not threatening. The first shadows of the wider world press in as you approach the borders of the old forest. Trees loom taller here, their branches tangled like fingers, and the wind carries whispers that seem almost like voices. You feel a shiver, not unpleasant, but an alertness that pulls you inward, toward thought, toward awareness. Frodo's hand brushes yours when you step over a root, a gesture so small yet weighted with reassurance. You still wonder if this is courage or the comfort of companionship that steadies you. Night falls sooner than expected, and you find a sheltered clearing for rest. The fire crackles, the flames casting dancing shadows across faces illuminated with both weariness and curiosity. Sam shares a bit of bread, and you notice the careful way he tears it, almost ceremoniously, before offering it. It is a quiet display of affection, of care, that lingers in your mind long after the last bite. You feel the warmth of friendship as a tangible thing, almost a pulse beneath your ribs, and for a moment, the weight of the journey ahead seems manageable. Morning brings the distant clamor of travelers and the first signs of real danger. Tracks that do not belong to any ordinary creature, whispers of things best left unseen. You sense tension in the group, in the way everyone's eyes flick toward the forest edge or a fallen tree that seems too deliberate to be random. Yet within that tension, small gestures of care persist, Frodo adjusting a cloak over Sam's shoulders, Merry pausing to steady Pippin when a root trips him, your own hand brushing against his sleeve in silent reassurance. You still wonder if the bond forming here is built on necessity or genuine affection, but it does not matter because its presence is undeniable. Days blend into nights as you traverse rivers, hills, and dense woods, and the companionship deepens. You share stories beneath starlit skies, laughter mingling with the crackle of fires and the soft hum of nocturnal creatures. Every shared joke, every small observation, like the way Sam ties his boots or the quiet delight Frodo takes in the sight of a bird, feels like a thread in a tapestry that is slowly wrapping around your heart. You notice how trust grows in silence as much as in words, how the tiniest glances carry reassurance, and how, even when fear creeps in, the warmth of these connections keeps it at bay. One evening, you pause on a hilltop, looking down at a valley drenched in twilight. The air is thick with the scent of wet grass and wildflowers, and the distant sound of a stream seems to sing in time with your heartbeat. Frodo turns to you, eyes reflecting both uncertainty and courage. And for a heartbeat, you feel the vulnerability of all of you pressed together in this small world. You still wonder if it is love for the journey, for the people at your side, or the simple thrill of life itself that keeps you moving forward. But the thought drifts away, replaced by the gentle certainty that none of this would be the same alone. The road stretches endlessly, yet you no longer fear it. Each step, each shared smile or touch of reassurance becomes a part of the rhythm of your days. Even in the quiet moments, watching the mist rise from the ground, feeling the gentle wind on your face, you feel the pulse of friendship as a living, breathing presence. And as the fire dims at the edge of another night, you let yourself rest, trusting that tomorrow will bring both shadow and light, challenge and laughter, and the quiet, persistent thrill of hearts journeying together. The road carries you and your companions into lands that hum with tension, yet also with small, fragile beauty. You notice how Frodo's fingers linger over the straps of his pack, a subtle rhythm that speaks of his concern for the weight of both possessions and responsibility. Every glance he casts at the horizon seems layered with thought, and you wonder quietly if he is imagining what lies ahead or clinging to memories of the Shire, The air is thick with the scent of pine and smoke, and you feel an odd mixture of excitement and unease, like standing on the edge of a story you can't yet finish. Merry and Pippin chatter constantly, trying to fill the spaces between moments of uncertainty with laughter, and you notice how these small bursts of joy ripple through the group. The way Pippin tilts his head while he talks, the slight curl of Merry's lips when he teases, it all feels intimately comforting. You realize that love comes in many forms, not only romantic, but also in the careful attention paid to another's habits, in the warmth of shared silences, in the gentle teasing that lightens the heaviest burdens. You still wonder if this kind of love is easier to see in others than to recognize in yourself. Then there is the quiet tension that lingers around Aragorn, the ranger whose gaze carries both the weight of kingship and the humility of a friend. You sense the flicker of something unspoken in his eyes when he observes Frodo or glances at the path ahead. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to make your pulse quicken in recognition of an intimacy born not of words, but of understanding and shared purpose. The quiet care in his actions, adjusting a cloak here, stepping slightly ahead to scout there, speaks volumes about a devotion you can feel but cannot yet name. Even as danger presses closer, shadowed forests and unfamiliar tracks hint at the presence of foes. You notice moments of tenderness, Frodo offering a hand when Sam stumbles, Pippin leaning on Merry in a pause of exhaustion, the gentle brush of a hand on a shoulder in reassurance. You feel a deep, unspoken gratitude for these touches, for the small rituals of care that anchor you to the living warmth of friendship. And in these moments, the heart expands in quiet ways, noticing beauty in the simplest acts, learning that love need not be declared loudly to exist fully. The journey grows darker, both in landscape and circumstance, yet you remain attuned to subtle joys. In a clearing, sunlight filters through the canopy, illuminating the dust motes like golden fireflies. You notice the way Frodo pauses, just long enough to savor the light, and the way your chest lifts a little, carried by shared wonder. You still wonder whether it is the thrill of adventure or the growing intimacy among companions that makes the breath catch in your throat, but the distinction fades in the face of the present moment. Evenings are a delicate ritual. The fire crackles, shadows dance, and conversations meander from hope to memory to laughter. Sam shares stories of the Shire, his voice soft but vivid, painting pictures you can almost touch. Pippin hums quietly while tying knots in rope, and you feel a curious delight in the mundane, in the way routine itself becomes a balm. Frodo's quiet smiles, reserved but meaningful, leave tiny impressions on your heart, lingering like the faint scent of lavender on a breeze. You feel that love, in its gentlest form, is stitched into every gesture, every glance, every fleeting touch. Then comes the confrontation at Helm's Deep, where courage and fear collide in a symphony of both terror and tenderness. You witness the subtle ways care persists amid chaos, Aragorn checking on exhausted allies, a hand on a shoulder, a whispered reassurance, a fleeting smile that says, "We endure together." Even as the battle rages, there is space for the heart to soften, for small intimacies to anchor you against despair. You still wonder if it is the love of life itself, or the love shared between companions that steadies you in these moments. But the distinction seems irrelevant when warmth can exist even in shadow. In quieter moments afterward, under a sky streaked with stars and smoke, you reflect on bonds forged in fire. Frodo leans back against a tree, exhausted but unbroken, and you notice the subtle curve of his mouth when he laughs at some small, absurd remark. Pippin and Merry jostle each other lightly, their comfort and familiarity a reminder that, even amid uncertainty, love takes shape in patterns, gestures, and whispers of connection. And as you drift towards sleep, the gentle certainty settles over you. Love, quiet, enduring, intimate, has woven itself into every step, every breath, every heartbeat along this path. You step into the shadowed lands with a mixture of resolve and quiet dread, feeling the air grow heavier with every mile toward Mordor. The scent of sulfur and scorched earth reaches you first, subtle at first, then increasingly insistent, carrying with it an unspoken warning. Frodo walks ahead, shoulders squared, yet there is a flicker of strain in his eyes that you recognize instantly, a quiet struggle between courage and fear. You reach for his hand for a brief moment, as if to anchor both of you, feeling the warmth and trust pulse between you. You still wonder if it is love, loyalty, or simply shared desperation that binds you here. Sam is at your side, ever vigilant, the familiar hum of his voice a lifeline in the thickening tension. His careful gestures, the way he straightens a strap, offers a small word of encouragement, or shares a morsel of food, feel amplified against the oppressive landscape. You notice these details more than ever now, how the smallest acts of care can feel heroic in their simplicity. You realize that love in these lands is not dramatic declarations or grand gestures, but the steady persistence of attentiveness, the heartbeat of quiet courage. Aragorn's presence is a constant, quiet reassurance, a living compass in the darkness. You watch as he moves with purpose, scanning horizons, reading signs invisible to others. There is a subtle intimacy in the way he occasionally pauses to check on Frodo, to offer a fleeting smile or a brief word of encouragement. Even amid the looming shadows of mountains and the distant echo of distant fires, these gestures anchor you, whispering that tenderness and courage are not mutually exclusive. You still wonder how one can carry love through despair, yet here it is, resilient and luminous. The journey through barren plains and volcanic ash is both exhausting and strangely mesmerizing. You notice the shifting light on jagged rocks, the way clouds curl around distant peaks, and the occasional glimmer of green stubbornly sprouting from blackened soil. Frodo's quiet exclamations, Sam's murmured observations, and your own breath mingling with the wind make the landscape feel alive. In these moments, you find a strange beauty in hardship, a gentle proof that love can persist even in the harshest environments. At times, despair threatens to overwhelm you. You sense it in Frodo's pauses, and the heavy tread of each step, and the silent tension that stretches across the group. Yet, even in these darkest moments, small acts of intimacy shine through. A reassuring touch on an arm, a whispered joke to break the tension, a shared glance that says, without words, we endure together. You notice how deeply these moments resonate, embedding themselves into memory like firelight on stone, subtle but impossible to forget. The final stretch into Mount Doom is a surreal blend of fear and fragile hope. Every sound seems magnified, the crackle of lava, the distant roar of the land, Frodo's quiet breaths. Sam's steadfast presence at your side, the way he adjusts a cloak or offers a sip of water, feels more intimate than any spoken confession. You still wonder how love can survive in such a place, yet here it does in these delicate, almost hidden exchanges that defy the surrounding chaos. When Frodo finally reaches the brink of the mountain's heart, you witness the weight of both burden and devotion in the pause before the last step. You feel the tremor of anticipation, the surge of relief, and the quiet acknowledgement of shared triumph. Even in the aftermath of destruction, there is tenderness, the soft release of tension, the simple care offered in a hand held or a shoulder touched. And as the ground cools beneath your feet and the sky brightens with distant sun, you sense that love in all its forms has traveled with you through fire and shadow, enduring in both the extraordinary and the quietly intimate moments that shape the heart. The journey back from Mordor feels both light and heavy, as if the land itself is exhaling after holding its breath for so long. You walk beside Frodo, noticing how his shoulders have eased slightly, though a quiet tension lingers around his eyes, a reminder of what was endured, of burdens carried and choices made. Every step through familiar lands feels like both a return and a discovery, like seeing the Shire with eyes subtly changed by everything you've witnessed. You still wonder if the home you knew will ever feel the same, or if the echoes of your journey have settled permanently in the heart. Sam hums quietly as you move along, his voice soft but steady, weaving a rhythm that eases the ache of exhaustion. You notice the careful way he gathers small herbs along the path, perhaps for tea or simple nourishment, and the way his presence feels like an anchor in both thought and feeling. Pippin and Merry chatter about the mundane details of life, jokes and stories threading through the quiet landscape, and you feel a curious delight in the way ordinary moments reclaim their space, making the world seem safe again, even after what you have seen. Aragorn walks ahead with measured steps, yet his eyes occasionally flick back, a soft smile lingering on his lips as he observes your companions. There is a subtle grace in his movements, a quiet acknowledgement of the bonds that have carried you all, and you realize that love can take shape in vigilance and care in the quiet presence of someone watching over those they hold dear. You still wonder whether it is the love of home, the love of companions, or simply the love of life that steadies your heart, but the sensation is undeniable and profoundly comforting. As you approach Hobbiton, the green hills unfurl in familiar patterns, yet every leaf, every bloom, seems tinged with new meaning. You pause at the edge of your garden, breathing in the scent of flowers and earth, the songs of birds now carrying an added depth of resonance. Frodo leans against a fence post, his gaze soft, and you notice the subtle relief in his posture, the faint curve of his lips in a smile that holds both joy and lingering memory. You trace the outlines of old paths, feeling the rhythm of life here like a pulse beneath your feet, steady and familiar. Evenings in the Shire feel different now. You watch Sam and Frodo share quiet moments, the ease of routine wrapping around them, the comfort of small gestures, handing over tea, leaning in to hear a story, a shared laugh over some minor mishap. You feel the same warmth in your chest, a quiet reflection of love, resilience, and connection that does not require grand displays, only presence and care. You still wonder if this is the kind of love that lasts forever, or simply the love that endures long enough to carry you home, but it matters little because its effect is immediate, calming, and profound. Night settles gently over the Shire, soft and reassuring. You walk under starlit skies, the air filled with familiar scents and distant echoes of life resuming its gentle rhythm. Every glance at your companions, every quiet smile, every subtle gesture feels like a thread, tying the past journey to the present peace. Even in silence, love is everywhere, in the warmth of friendship, the gentleness of return, the quiet acknowledgement of what was endured together. And as you rest beneath the familiar roofs, the Shire breathing around you, you carry with you the unspoken truth that love, in its quiet, enduring form, has been your companion all along, threading through every shadow, every joy, every heartbeat of the journey. Now the Shire lies softly around you, the hills rolling in gentle waves beneath the moonlight. The quiet rhythm of the world seems to mirror the slow rise and fall of your own breath, each inhale and exhale easing tension from your limbs. You feel the warmth of the journey still lingering in your chest, the quiet presence of companions, friends, and those you have learned to love stitched into the edges of your awareness. Every gesture, every glance, every moment of care lingers, settling like soft dust on the landscape of your heart. The stars twinkle faintly above, their light steady and comforting, reminding you that even after long shadows, there is constancy and calm. You trace their glow with your mind's eye, letting each thought drift gently, like a leaf floating on a slow-moving stream. Memories of laughter, gentle touches, quiet encouragements, and the shared warmth of friendship pass through you, and you allow yourself to rest in the knowledge that love does not demand spectacle. It merely exists quietly, steadfastly, and fully. You feel the rhythm of the Shire, the gentle hum of life returning, blending with the echo of distant forests and rivers. It whispers reassurance, a lullaby for your soul, soft and unhurried. You sense that every hardship, every shadow, every trial has been tempered by care, intimacy, and the simple, enduring act of being present with one another. In this, there is peace, a calm understanding that what is most important need not be loud or dramatic, only real and enduring. Your eyelids grow heavy as the night deepens, each slow breath carrying a sense of completion. The world is safe, for now, held in quiet balance, and you feel a soft warmth bloom in your chest. Love, in its many gentle forms, surrounds you, and the Shire itself seems to hum with a comforting presence. Let the darkness cradle you, let your mind drift, and feel the enduring bonds of friendship and care settle around your shoulders like a soft, familiar blanket.